Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to the conversation. I am your host, Andrea B. Flintroy, and I just want to say thank you to everyone who is joining me on this evening, joining the conversation. And as you know, the conversation is a space, it is a place where we have open, transparent conversations. We have these discussions about things that, they kind of hit hard, or we talk about things to bring awareness to our community. And also, we want people in our community to know that you are not alone, that you are not the only one that are going through challenges, that are going through obstacles, that are in valleys. You are not by yourself. And so the conversation was designed for you, for me, for my guests, for all women to be able to have a community and have a place again, so their voice can be heard, and then you won't feel alone. But again, I just want to say thank you to everyone. Hello to the TC community. Hello. If you are not a part of the TC community, you can definitely be a member of the conversation community by three different ways. Hey, like the conversation, share the conversation, and make a comment. Because one thing about this conversation, it is not just a discussion between me and my guests, but it's also a discussion with you, the community. So, what are some questions that you might have for the guest this evening? What are some of your thoughts? Hey, and it might just be some praises that you want to give. You might want to say, "Oh, I feel you on that," or "Amen." Hey, we rocking with it all over here on the conversation, okay? So again, y'all know we just like to have open, transparent discussions. But enough of all that. I know y'all did not come to hear me talk all night. So we have such an awesome, special guest on this evening. First of all, I just want to tell you that she is my P2P sister. Okay. So that alone is enough. That's enough said. Mic drop. It's over. Okay. But we just want to welcome Miss Bridgette Lewis to the conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I've been anticipating this day for a couple of weeks, and I'm just so glad that God said yes, you said yes, and now I am ready to go.
Yes. So just to give you a little bit about Miss Bridgette TC community. Now, she is a woman. She is an author. She is a speaker. She is also known as the bounce back coach. Yep, you heard it correctly. Bounce back coach, because there are some places that we can be in and some spaces that we can be in where we need to really on back in and get our bounce back, okay? But she is an author of two books, From Pitfalls to Purpose and The Bounce Back, where she gives 6 simple steps to develop the resiliency that we need by rebuilding, restoring our mind, our body, and she teaches things of the spirit that we need to men and women. So, okay, men, if y'all checking in on the conversation, she here for y'all too. She here for y'all too. But y'all know who we like, especially our women. So, yes, but that's just to give you a little bit about Miss Bridgette. But of course, we want Miss Bridgette to tell you the rest. So, again, welcome Miss Bridgette to the conversation. We're so happy to have you. But one thing we would like to know, Miss Bridgette, is you come to teach us or tell us how to overcome with adversity.
Mm.
Yes. So if you can give us a little bit of your story, Miss Bridgette, and how did you become the bounce back coach?
Woo! Through trial, through walking through
Mm,
roadblocks and detours and potholes and
mm,
obstacles, and literally falling in a pit and really digging my way out. But I'm here to share with the audience today that your dreams are no longer negotiable. Your
mm.
future is waiting. And I'm coming today as a world changer, as a waymaker, and a chain breaker. Today is your day. And the way that I became the bounce back coach is I married at the tender age of 23, that a man I thought I would spend the rest of my life with. He was tall,
Mm.
dark, handsome, charming. Charming is another word for deceits. Most people think, oh my God, he's so charming. Charm, again, is another word for deceit. So
Mm.
prior to marrying this man, I was excited about life. I was the one with the big voice and the big spirit and full of energy. And I just knew my whole entire life was in front of me. And this man literally came in the church and got me. But yeah,
Whoa.
can we sit with that for a minute? The enemy does go to church. There is a scripture in the Bible, I don't know exactly where it is, but it says that the enemy comes to rob, to kill,
Mm.
and to destroy. And just like we have our hands, we have our eyes, we have our fingers, some people in the body of Christ are the legs. They run and they get things going. Some people are the eyes, and I am the mouth. And what I didn't
Mm.
know at the tender age of 23 is that God had such a mantle and a mandate on my life that the enemy was going to try and shut me down. So, what better way to do that than me looking at a man who I just thought, okay, this is just, he is just it. All the women wanted him, and I was the complete opposite. I really ran in the opposite direction, and that's what really made him chase me. Little did I know that I was marrying a, oh my God, that I was marrying one of the top cocaine drug selling drug smugglers in Los Angeles.
Whoa.
I had no idea, because he didn't look like, just like the devil, he never comes with a fork. He never comes with a pitchfork. He never comes with a red tail. He never comes with the little red ears. He's all dressed up. He's just your flavor. So if you like vanilla,
Mm.
the enemy is going to send you whatever your flavor is. And mine was chocolate. And he was dripping in chocolate. The suits, the shoes, the smell. He was charismatic.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this is all right. This is all right, right? But the wrap up and the bottom line is there were signs. And I want to share with you, ladies and gentlemen, pay attention to the signs.
Mm.
Women, we are born with intuition.
That's
It's
true.
there for a reason. And I call it, it's a GPS. I call it my God protective system. That's
Mm.
what your GPS is for. And if you will hone in and listen, it will save you a world of hurt. And men
Yeah.
are born with instinct. Have you ever had a moment that said, something feels off? Something is wrong. Something doesn't feel right. And you get a check in your spirit. You just can't shake it, but you keep on moving forward. Why do we do that? I want you guys to sit with that for a moment. Why do we move past our God protective system? So, had I really leaned in and listened to that God protective system, it would have saved me from being arrested years down the line for something that my ex husband had done that I had absolutely nothing to do with. Talk about
Mm.
being in shock. It was like, whose life is this? Because it's certainly not mine. I mean,
Oh.
I'm the youngest of two daughters who grew up in the Texas countryside, who saw what real love looked like. I saw a 67-year love relationship between my late grandfather, Richard, and my beautiful grandmother, Bertie. I saw what love looked like. And love was an action word. He always did for her, cared for her, right? But
Mm-hmm.
getting back to me marrying, who wasn't really Prince Charming, the way that he came at me, he was just smooth. If he said the
Mm.
sky was blue,
It was blue.
it was blue, but I saw the sky was green, but he said the sky was blue. And so I
Mm.
began to not trust myself. I began to doubt myself. And so moving forward, I should have known that everything that looks good to you is not necessarily good for you.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'll share with you, ladies, okay, how you look is not enough for me. I want to know what's down on the inside of you. And the Bible also says you'll know them by their fruit. So
Yeah.
watch what people do. Forget about what they say, watch what they do. And you're really going to need to watch that over a prolonged period of time, right? And so we were moving forward in this relationship, but something always felt off. And I remember going to my mom because I trusted my mom, and
Mm-hmm.
I still just felt a little shaky. But mama said, but he's a good man. He can provide for you. He can take care of you. Like, I'm trying to focus on my college education because
Yeah.
yeah, because doing it was my junior year. It was my junior year. Dropped out. I really didn't have enough money to finish, and I needed to go back. So I was really focused on that, and I shared that with him. He was like, "No, you don't really need to worry about that. I'll provide and take care of everything that you need.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ever depend on anyone to provide everything that you need because you'll find
Mm.
yourself in a pit. You'll find yourself in a hole. You find yourself beholding this person, right? So
Yeah.
as we got closer and closer to the wedding, I was more nervous and I was like, something just still feels off. So I remember writing a note to him and I said, I really want to talk to you. And my mother kept saying, but he's a nice man and he can really provide. And I kept on hearing, of course, you're going to believe your mother, right?
Yeah.
That's your mom, right? So I remember his oldest sister, Irma, came to me and she said, I want to share something with you. And the two of them were really, really close. Most people thought they were dating, but they were just really close. So
Mm-hmm.
she came to me 6 weeks before the wedding and she said, my brother has a problem. Well, I thought the man was ill. And I'm like, what does she mean? He has a
Yeah.
problem, right? So she says, she says, my brother has a drug problem. I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean? I'd never seen any paraphernalia. I'd never seen any drugs whenever he was with me, whenever we were out, and he never looked high.
Yeah.
But what would I know high look like? I'd never seen what it looked like for somebody to be high, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when she told me, it was a thing that I needed to hear because I knew that something was off. And so I said, I've got to say something. Well,
Okay.
so I'm engaged. I'm really afraid to say something to him. And he was 9 years my senior. So it's
Mm.
like, well, who am I, to go to this man? But I'm thinking, okay, he's going to be my husband, right?
Yes.
And I should have felt comfortable, but I wasn't. And I
Mm.
didn't feel comfortable. And so I wrote a note and I said, I need you to meet me down at the courtyard at that time. And he said, what's the matter? What's the matter? He knew something was like, what's the matter? What's the matter? So then he met me down there and I said, your sister came to me. She told me that you had a drug problem. And I'm going to ask you, do you have a drug problem? What's going on? So the way narcissistic personalities work, and I didn't know
Mm.
anything about that, he totally flipped the whole entire thing around as if it was me and my fault. And I'm looking around like, what in the world is
Mm.
going on? But in my heart of hearts, I'm like, I can't do this. So I called the wedding off, and gifts were already coming into my mom's home. We had already starting to get RSVPs, for the wedding, and we had invited like 300 people.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Oh yeah. Most of the people were my mom's friends and people from the church, and then he had his whole entire community. But one thing that began to really shape me, I began to meet his friends, and they were really different. And
How so?
when I say different, they have these beautiful luxury cars. We're talking Mercedes,
Mm.
Rolls Royce, Cadillac, Suburban, and they lived in really posh neighborhoods. And I'm thinking, how do you know these people, and what do you have to do with them, right? And so I
Yeah.
and so I never still really felt quite comfortable. I remember one day going to a friend. His name was Greg, but they called him Vernon. I remember going up to Vernon's house, and it was the first time that I'd ever seen like a real crystal chandelier, and this house was massive, and it was in the Hollywood Hills of California. And we went up like these winding roads. We were going like through these gates. I mean, it was the weirdest, strangest thing to me. And I'm thinking, am I being punked? Like, are we really going, behind like these iron gates? And so he says to me, he says, baby, he says, I just need you to stay down in the living room, where we're going to go in the back and conduct some business. But I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know that the business that they were conducting it was the drug business, where they were planning drop offs and stuff like that. But again, I never saw anything, right?
Yeah.
I never saw anything. And so we called off the wedding, and my mom says, it's just jitters. It's just your
Mm.
nerves. It's typical.
Yeah.
Everything is going to be okay. And
Mhm.
you need to move forward with it.
Mm. Now, how did he feel when you want to call the wedding off? Or what did he say, rather?
He says, oh, baby, he says, it's not what you think it is. She's lying. She's always been very jealous of me, and she really wants to get married, and she really didn't want me to be happy. And so he was talking fast and
Yeah.
loud. And of course, I'm enraptured. I'm what I think is love.
Yeah.
And he had me hook, line, and sinker, because he was
Mm.
charming and deceitful. And
Mm.
so we moved forward. But the night of the rehearsal dinner, his mother flew in from Chicago, and he had friends that were coming in from all around. And within earshot, now he didn't see me, but I heard someone say, they called him Big D. This is Big D. Have you told her? Does she know? And I'm thinking, what are they talking about? Like, does he have some kind of disease? Is he
Yeah.
pass away or something like that? And so another person, Chico, I mean, this is literally, this happened 39 years ago, but I remember the story and the
Yeah.
account as if it was yesterday. They said, have you told her? Does she know? And he said, oh yeah, she knows. And I'm just thinking, okay, maybe I know.
Yeah.
So I kind of like dismissed it. But there was a check in my spirit that something was off. Something
Mm.
is wrong. Something is wrong. So mom says, get a good night's sleep. Tomorrow's going to be the best day of your life. Tomorrow's your wedding day. It's the day you've been waiting for since you were a little girl. I don't ever remember since I was a little girl, like waiting for my wedding day. I was never really that girl. I,
Yeah.
I just wasn't, right? It's something that happens in the movies, right?
Yeah.
So I remember getting up, and the day of the wedding, it was overcast and cloudy. That,
Mm-hmm.
that should have been my clue. It was overcast and cloudy. And we get to the church and go in, and I'm getting dressed, and the wedding coordinator was there. And I remember kind of peeking out the door, and he said, the church is crowded, the church is packed, and everybody get in because the bride's going to be coming out shortly. So they closed the doors, and then they played the bridal march. And the
Mm-hmm.
song was called Jesus Joy of Man's Desiring. And so they roll out the long white little paper thing, and then the little flower girl goes, and they had me at the door, and I'm kind of peeking around, was cracked. And so as they're playing the wedding song, the doors are open. I'm not moving. I said, something is wrong. I,
Yeah.
I'm not moving. And the wedding coordinator is looking at me. He was like, Miss Bridgette, move up. They're waiting for you. They're waiting for you. And my ex-spouse was down at the with the pastor, and he was just smiling and grinning, and he was so happy. And I am petrified, like something is off. And so I just remember like my veil, had my veil. And I remember just like I started to hyperventilate the day of my wedding, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they closed the doors. And I told the wedding coordinator, I said, I can't do it. He said, it's just nerves. I said, no, 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 no. It's more than that. I can't do it. So I did it as I'm walking down the aisle. My father's on my arm, and I'm literally pulling back almost with my feet, like dragging. Something's wrong. I'm tw-
Yeah.
I'm 23 years old, and I don't know what to like. I'm only 23. What do I know at 23? Getting married, right?
That's
Like
young.
I know nothing. But back in the day, we're talking almost 40 years ago. That was a thing you do. You
Yes,
get
you're right.
married, you have a family. I mean, now it's quite different where women are getting married much older, 35, 36, sometimes 40. You know, they have their careers, they want to get themselves established and stuff like that, right? So we get married, beautiful wedding photos and all this other type of razzmatazz.
Mm-hmm.
And came time to take our photos, and he's just skinning and grinning. And he said, we're introducing now Mr. and Mrs. whatever my last name was. I won't even allow that to come out of my mouth.
Okay.
And we go to the reception, and he leans over my ear and he says, honey, I have a surprise for you. And I'm like, okay, what is it? And he says, well, we have another reception. And the other reception wasn't for the church people, it was for the drug people.
Oh,
Yeah,
whoa. Well,
yeah.
hold up. So how was this reception? Get to that reception.
That reception was turned up. I'll just say that it was a turned up reception. None of the people from our congregation, nobody from church, was there, but it was turned up. And you saw, Mac Daddy, nickel pimp, uh, the,
Wait a
yeah, Mac Daddy, nickel pimp strolling in. Like what?
minute. Oh my
That was
goodness.
that was shocking to the psyche.
Yeah.
Like, okay, who are all these old geezers and why are they
Mhm.
at my wedding
Wedding
reception?
reception. Yeah.
Yeah. So we get married,
Mm-hmm.
and this is me really being transparent. We were scheduled to go to Hawaii for our
Mm-hmm.
honeymoon, and it just started thundering and lightning, and so they canceled the flight. So we were at our hotel, and I'm exhausted after two receptions and a huge wedding and everything. And I still have a pit in my stomach that something is wrong. And he says, I really have something I want to share with you.
Mm-hmm. What does
And
he
I
say? What does he say?
and he said, well, I think I sort of kind of well, someone was really trying to get at me a couple nights before. And so we kind of had like a little rendezvous conversation. Wait, 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 wait. So we're supposed to be consummating our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And you tell me this. And I'm looking at him like I knew that night it was a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
I'm stuck. My mother is elated. She's happy. Oh my God, my baby, my youngest daughter, she just got married. She's married the most
Mm-hmm.
wonderful man. He's going to take really great care of her. And it wasn't even a month before things began to fall apart.
Oh my goodness. So how did you, once things started to fall apart, how were you navigating that? Because, and you know what? It's so funny that you said, Miss Bridget, I've only heard one other person say that he came and got me out the church. So how did you navigate that? Like once all this happened, the first month, all things are breaking loose. How did you navigate that?
I began to hide and shrink because I'm a person who has a
Mm.
really big voice, right? I've always been very chatty, very talkative, and I would always say what was on my mind. But because my mother knows me, she was like, okay, something is wrong with her.
Yeah.
She's not, she's, first of all, he moved me away. And
Whoa.
mhm, so
So he isolated you.
that was to isolate me, that was to control me, and that was so my family really would know what was going on, right?
Mm.
But my mother, in her infinite wisdom, like, okay, wait a minute, hold up. You're not going to move my baby girl away. So
Yeah.
like, I'm coming out there, right? So about 4 to 6 weeks, after we got married, my mother always said, it's nice to be nice, and people don't have to do great things for you. So we believe in the old fashioned writing the thank you notes, right? And so
Yeah.
going through the guest book and let me thank Mrs. So and so and Mr. So and so. And so people had put cash money in envelopes, they had written checks. But one of the things I began to notice with the guest registry is that the registry didn't line up with the envelopes. And I was like, well, this is just weird. It didn't seem, something was like off. So then people reached out to my mom. It was like, well, I gave your daughter and I wrote a check for $500 to Mr. and Mrs. We never got a proper thank you. We see her at church and she doesn't say anything to us. Well, I didn't know who had given the gifts because what my husband had done at the time was he went in and he took all the money out of the envelopes. He took all the checks out because at this point he was in deep doo doo, deep crap
Whoa.
because he owed money to the drug supplier. This is unbeknownst to me,
You.
right?
Yeah.
Because he was getting his drugs from somebody else and then he was selling them in LA. But I had no idea, right? And so with that being said, I was like, something is just off. Things just began
Mhm.
at this point, things just got so weird, so quick, so fast. I'll make the story.
Yeah.
We had gotten a gift from someone to go to some special play in Century City. And he says, instead of driving the car, I want to take a taxi. I just thought that I was like, wait, what do you mean like you want to take a taxi, right? So we get in the car, we take the taxi, we go to Century City, and he was really big on appearances. And so he says, we went to this big store called I Magnums. It's this big store back in the day. And so he says,
Mhm.
just look around the store and just buy whatever you want. Buy whatever I want. I'm the kind of person that was never materialistic, right? So what do you mean like buy whatever I want, right? So he says, baby, go over there. You want to get me away from whatever it was that he was doing.
Okay.
What I didn't know is that this man was also a kleptomaniac.
Whoa.
The man was a kleptomaniac. I had never seen anyone take a dress, take some pants, ball it up, stick it down in their sock, stick it down in their pants, have on this big overcoat. Like that's the same look I had on my face too, right?
And they sock.
I, I couldn't even tell you how he was able to leave the store with all this stuff. So what ended up happening is he says, okay, baby, all of a sudden I'm ready to go. Like,
Yeah.
but we just got here, right? Maybe 30 minutes. So we're walking out of the store and he says, okay, let's just go down this elevator. I'm like, but I want to look around. I want to look around. And next thing I know, there's these two big old security guards. They're running up the escalator. And I'm looking around and looking around. They're on their walkie talkies and they grabbed him both under each arm. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? You guys have the wrong person. He says, ma'am, it's not your fault. It's not your problem. They go, you haven't done anything. They go, it's him. We want him. They bustle him back into the store, into the back of the store. And it says, we saw him on the cameras, on the overhead cameras. They said he was shoplifting and we're going to arrest him. I'm like,
Mm.
I'm like, what? Now, I just married this man 6 weeks before. I just
Whoa.
married this man. Yeah. So all of this, the real personality,
It's
Chucky
starting to
came
come out.
out. Chucky, the whole other side came
Mhm.
out. For me, I was a diversion. And
Mm.
I didn't know that I was a second wife until later. The first one
Really?
committed suicide. Yes.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
how long did you guys stay married?
We stayed married on paper for 10 years. Yeah, it was on paper.
Wait, Miss Bridget, I like how you set that up. Wait, okay, TC community. I don't know if you heard her. Miss Bridget say, well, on paper, we was married for 10 years.
We're married for 10 years on paper because
Well,
I'm like, I have got to get out of this. This is not the lifestyle I want. This is not a person that I want
yeah.
to be connected to, because it was always some type of drama. Oh my God, it was horrible. But I mean, the stuff that I went through,
Yeah.
between the alcoholism, between the drug
Mm-hmm.
addiction, between people
Mm-hmm.
calling my house. I mean, it really got to a point that his behavior was so immoral that it put my life in jeopardy.
Yeah.
So we started moving around a lot, and my mom was like, okay, I gotta go and get my child.
Yeah.
I gotta go and get her. And it got so bad where I lost myself in this relationship.
Mm.
I really lost myself. And I believe that women, when we don't pick wisely,
Yeah.
um, when we don't ask the deeper questions as we're
Mm-hmm.
going into a relationship, you can find yourself in a pit. You
Yeah.
can find yourself in a wrong relationship. You
Mm-hmm.
can find yourself in a world of hurt, and you don't know how long it's going to take you to get out of that, because that relationship caused me to be fearful,
Mm.
to doubt myself,
Yeah.
to not trust myself, and not to trust men.
Mm.
Because if this is what love looks like, then I don't want to be part of
Yeah.
it.
Wonderful. Yeah.
I don't want to be a part, because this love is really painful.
Yeah.
Love hurts.
Mm-hmm.
And when I knew it was really time to go,
Uh-huh.
was I remember when we had lost the first house, and he moved me in to a friend's house, and
Mm-hmm.
I was petrified. And he had been gone for maybe 2 or 3 days on one of his drug stupors.
Uh-huh.
And I remember hearing him come up the steps. And I was like, okay, I didn't know which personality I was going to meet that day. And so I was
Mm.
like bracing myself, because he had like two or three. When he was kind, he was wonderful. But when he was the other crazy person, it was like he was almost like a manic depressive kind of person, where the personality is like it's so flipped, right? So
Yeah.
him, I remember him trudging up the steps, and I'm in the bathroom, and this is going to make you laugh. I'm in the bathroom with some sponge rollers and some tissue rolling my hair. And I don't even know if women still do the sponge rollers with the tissue to make your curls spring out.
No, Miss Bridget. No. They got something now called flexi rods. And we know we take our flexi rods and we just bend them things. We get some nice curls, Miss Bridget. Mm-mm. Mm-mm, Miss Bridget.
Oh my God, it's so funny. So he comes in, and he's angry.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I'm trying to hold myself. Now, Negro, you've been gone for 3 days. I have
Yeah.
not seen you, have not heard from you. I'm getting up going to work every day. And I ask you, where you have been. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that just like set him on fire. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm not about to even walk through the crazy. So I remember just walking out of the bathroom. I had on my pajamas. And I remember the wind was blowing that night really hard, and the window was open. So the door blew shut. He thought I slammed the door.
Oh.
The next thing I knew, he was on me from behind. We have this huge walk-in closet, and he picked me up and he threw me.
Whoa.
You talk about shock. He threw me so hard that my head hit the back of the wall. And I literally remember seeing like stars. Like I couldn't,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this man just put his hands on me.
Yeah.
I was done.
Yeah.
I was just, I remember laying on the floor in the closet and really not being able to move. Number one, I was in shock. Number two, my feelings were so hurt. Number three, I'm thinking, this is my husband.
Yeah.
And then I felt in the back of my head, I felt something cold and dripping. My head
You
was
were
bleeding.
bleeding. Yeah.
My head was bleeding. And at that point, when I pulled and looked at my hand, there was so much blood in my hand. I'm thinking, I'm hurt. And when he saw my hand, it was almost like when he saw the blood in my hand, it was like he had snapped out of it, like he came to himself. And he was like, "Oh my God." And I was like, "Get away from me." And I remember
Don't
just
touch
running.
me.
I remember running for the phone, diving literally for the phone, and calling my sister. And I'm like, "He's crazy. He's crazy. He put his hand on me. He's crazy." I said, "Come and get me. Come and get me. Come and get me.
Yeah.
Come and get me. Come and get me." And I am just screaming. And I was just like, like this, right? And
Mhm.
so I would tell any woman who is listening to this, when you see the signs of control,
Yeah.
when you see the narcissistic behavior, uh,
Mhm.
when you see the isolation, this is
Mhm.
not a healthy relationship. And I felt like all of that was transfer. It was transferred kind of to me because then I'm thinking there's something wrong with me.
And you know what?
There's
It's so
never
funny that you say that, Miss Bridget, because like I have like my other clients and ladies that's been through trauma, and
Mhm.
that's the first thing they'll say is, "What's wrong with me?" Because they always feel like because of it could be molestation that it may have happened in their past, or it could have been abuse, or it could have been like abuse with their parents, and they always wonder what's wrong with me that could make them do what they did. What did I do wrong? Did I do something wrong? And then they feel abandoned and isolated because all they're looking for was that love, and that
Right.
was something they didn't get.
Yeah. There's so much shame and pain and
Mhm.
hurt that goes with that. And then you don't want to tell anybody because you feel like they'll point their finger and say, "Well, you must have did something. What did you do? It must have been your fault. Well, what did you say? What did you say?"
Mm.
And it really wasn't until I got a revelation of who I was. It really wasn't
Yeah.
until I started to really shift my mind. Remember, it's like, you know what? I'm a woman. I'm a woman of God. Like, I'm a Christian. I
Mhm.
come from a strong line of women that are powerful and that are creative and that are resourceful. But he kept on trying to push it down, push it down, push it down.
Yeah,
But the thing that I realize is that, especially with abusers, it's not that they hate their partners, they hate themselves, but they're going to take
that's
it out
true
on the person that is the closest to them.
to them. Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
after that first incident, I'm like, I'm out of here. Like,
Yeah.
I'm done. I just cannot deal, you know,
Mhm.
with the crazy. But all the things that I went through, I would say that we were together and married long enough for me to have a baby because when he was good, he was the perfect gentleman,
Yeah.
kind, sweet, and warm. But when that switch flipped,
Mhm.
it's like you're like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and I don't
Yeah.
really know who I am dealing with. And so I remember right before my son was to be born, he was in jail. He just could not stay out of trouble. And so
Really?
he couldn't stay out of trouble. How I got pregnant, well, we know how I got pregnant, but on one of those times, when he was Mr. Goodbar, can I just say that, right? When he was Mr. Goodbar,
Oh, Miss Bridget.
when
What?
I say when I say Mr. Goodbar, I'm talking in terms of like not to be like vulgar, nothing like that. When I say Mr. Goodbar, the kind, sweet, gentle
Yeah.
man that I felt in love with. And I think there was a movie out called Mr. Goodbar. I think she's an older lady and he's young and she's trying to teach him something. But anyway,
Uh,
the right. And so I just
yeah.
remember during that time, it was like, um, I was pregnant with my son, and the crazy just continued. And so I just said,
Yeah.
enough is enough. And by the second, I remember it was the second time that we had lost everything. So by the time my son was born, I was literally sleeping on a cot.
Mhm.
We had I'd lost my home, my car had lost everything. I was literally
Mhm.
sleeping on a cot, and we lived across the street from the hospital. And I remember saying to my mom, I said, Mama, I said, if you help me, I said, I promise you, I said, I will not go back. And she, I'll never forget, there was this store called Zodi's. And for people who are listening, are probably laughing. There was a store called Zodi's. And my mom had this little Zodi's credit card. And she said, You're my baby girl. And she said, I can't help you do everything, but at least I can buy you a bed. I mean, my son literally came in the world. All I had to my name was just this bedroom suit. And then I said, and I asked God just to help me. And being in that abusive marriage, it really wreaked havoc on my self esteem for a really long time because I felt like I wasn't deserving. I
Mhm.
felt that I wasn't lovable. And I felt like if this is love, then I would hate to see what unlove looks like.
Looks like.
And so, over the course of the next couple of years, relationships that I would have would almost mirror, but they weren't drug dealers, but they had almost like the same type of personality. So then it really became a
Mm.
cycle. I had
That you were
no
in.
I had no idea because I had been through trauma
Yeah.
relationship with him,
Mhm.
going to the Al Anon meetings, going to the Coke-Anon meetings, the Alcohol
Yeah.
Anonymous, and listen to the lies and I promise and all that I'm going to get better and it's not you and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, enough
Yeah.
already. And so
Mhm.
it built in me being in the relationship with him, being in that marriage where I was never supposed to be married. But I thank God for his mercy and his grace that
Yes.
out of that mess came an incredible message, which is
Mhm.
why I wrote my book, From Pitfalls to Purpose. And it is a book about healing, about
Mhm.
forgiveness, and about transformation, about trusting yourself, you know. And I would speak to any woman who finds herself in a pit, any woman who finds herself in a wrong relationship. It's not too late just to stop and just
Mm.
say, I'm bigger than this. I'm better than this.
Yeah.
I'm worth more. I deserve more. And even if you have to be alone, there's nothing wrong with loving yourself in your singleness because the
Mhm.
right king will come along when it is time. But I knew that I wasn't even in any shape to date anyone simply because the way that he had, not I don't want to use the word program. It's probably not a good word. It's the only one that comes to mind right now. But
Yeah.
the things that he would say to me, right? The power of life
Mhm.
and death is in the tongue. So, for example, you're married, you have a mom, you have a dad. So, for the people that love you, when they keep speaking and saying certain things to you, you keep hearing that repeated over and over and over. You're going to believe that because it's coming from someone that says they love you, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I believed all of the lies that he said. I believed
Mhm.
lies. And so I wasn't in any shape to be in any kind of relationship. I had to get me together first.
Yeah.
And so I have done some deep, deep inner work. Uh,
Mhm.
I am so free, I can't even tell you. And even though I went through all the hell, I mean, I'm only giving you the highlight reel and not the whole entire movie because we would be on forever, right? We would really be on forever. But I really have to do a deeper work. Number one, I
Yeah.
have to learn to just love me. You got to just learn to
Mm.
just love yourself.
Yeah.
Period. Um, I had to learn that I was worthy of love. I had to forgive myself. And I think that's a lot of times that as women, when we make mistakes, we get into a wrong relationship. we get into a marriage. A lot of times people will jump right back into another relationship without healing, without realizing you're bringing that same garbage, you're bringing that same trauma, right? And you haven't healed. And that healing may come in the form of you going to therapy. That healing may come in the form of you journaling. That healing
Mhm.
may come in the form of you going to church. That healing may
Mhm.
come in the form of you talking to your best girlfriend. But you've got to get it out, because I will say this: being in a toxic relationship, it affects it affects you physically.
Mhm.
And I was a lot bigger. I lost my hair fell out.
Wow.
I was probably a good 60 pounds heavier than I am now.
Mhm.
I feel like I look younger now. Like, I'm in my 60s. I feel like I look younger now than I did when I was
You
involved
with him?
with in the relationship with him.
Mhm.
And it's the thing that's so funny is, if you just wait, God will redeem you, right? The things that you have walked through. And so everything I've walked through, I completely understand now. It wasn't for me. It was for all the women that were going to come behind me, who are in
Mhm.
long relationships, um, who are, maybe their husband is hitting on them, which is not good. And sometimes the physical part is not as bad as the emotional part, because the physical part,
Mhm.
that bruise is going to go away. But the mental and emotional piece, if you have someone that's telling you, that you're never going to amount to anything,
Yeah.
you're nothing, his favorite line, you'll never be anything without me. You'll see. And I'm thinking, but ask me how he's doing today. Ask me how he's doing.
Yeah.
He said
Oh my goodness.
he's been married 5 times after me,
Whoa.
5 times after me, and each person that he married, they're all dead. The first one committed suicide.
I remember you said that.
I was wife number two.
Uh-huh.
Um, I met two of the other people in passing at a family event, because we had a son together. That was many years ago.
Uh-huh.
And when they met me, they were like, "You left her? That was your wife?" And they were like, "Okay." They were a little intimidated when they met me. And I'm thinking, girl, you have no idea
No
who
idea.
had,
Yeah.
and I don't want him, right?
Yeah.
And so all those women have gone on, and
Mm.
um, he has really been through the ringer, and he finally got to a place when he thought he was about to lose his life. He's had a couple of heart attacks.
Yeah.
He's had a stroke. He's had a lung removed. He was telling me that he's diabetic. And
Mhm.
he's just had a whole host of things as a result of living the type of life that he led. And I'm out here looking as fresh as a daisy. I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
Miss Bridget, you look good, girl. Miss Bridget look good over there. Her little short hair. Gone, Miss Bridget.
And it's so funny. He got to a point where the only thing that I wanted him to say that he was sorry for all the hell that he had put me through. And I'll tell you ladies this: sorry may never come.
Yeah.
The closure may never come. You're going to have to give yourself closure.
Mhm.
You're going to have to do that. And it wasn't until, now this is the part that's funny. It was a year before my late mother Sarah passed away, and he heard that she was ill, and he loved my mother. And he asked me, he said, I know it's been a long time, because he moved out of state. He said, I know it's been a long time since I've seen you, and I want to know, would it be okay if I can come and visit your mom? I said, I'm going to ask her, and then I'll let you know. Because for me,
Yeah.
you know that you're healed when it doesn't hurt anymore. It doesn't matter what he says. It didn't matter
Yeah.
what he did. It didn't matter who he was with.
Mhm.
It didn't matter. And
Yeah.
so I allowed him to come and see my mom.
Your mom. Mhm.
And when he came to see her and he saw me, it was like, you haven't aged at all. Like,
Mm.
what are you doing? You look so good. You look
That's
so
called
happy,
that's that peace, Miss Bridget. That's that peace. That's that peace.
right? Right,
Mhm.
right. And so I just remember after he had time with my mom, he
Mhm.
said, I've been wanting to say some things to you for a really long time. Can we talk?
Yeah.
I said, yeah. I said, sure. Because for me, I said, you're talking to a fully grown woman who so
Mhm.
already knew from the things that happened to her so
Mhm.
many years ago.
Ago.
You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And so he said, I just want to say that I am sorry. And before he could get it out, I mean, you could tell it was a godly sorrow. This man
Mm.
was weeping like I know him. And this, I mean, he was like bowled over, weeping
Weeping.
and sobbing because he says, everything I took you through, everything I took our son
Run
through.
through. Mhm.
And and I just remember looking at him and I said, I forgive you.
Mm.
I forgive you.
Yeah.
Because to me forgiving him was tied to my healing.
You're yes, and that's true.
I
That
had
is
to
so true.
forgive him, even though I
Mhm.
went through hell. Like
Yeah.
it was like seeing him in my house was just it was so weird almost where I never
Mhm.
thought that that day would come. And I mean, it literally came like 25 years later. I've been waiting on the
Mhm.
sorry for such a long time.
Mhm.
And when he finally felt like, okay, it's appropriate, like, she'll finally talk to me because for years he'd write me a letter. I'd write on there, return to sender, address unknown. Like I wouldn't talk to him. I wanted to be completely as far removed from him and disconnected as
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
Right.
And and that was because you did need that healing. So you need that space because who knows what he wrote in those letters. It could have been something that was tugging and pulling at you to where you would have went back or you would have had these emotions or there's something triggering which would have brought back up that trauma again for you. So I definitely agree with the disconnection that
Oh
you
yeah.
made for
Yeah.
that, because that was for your peace, for your healing, like you said, for you. Mhm.
It absolutely was. And I would share with anyone who's listening or really watching live, I go, you have to take care of your heart. You have
Yes.
to protect your peace at all costs. And now at this stage in my life, I go, if I don't have peace about it, I don't want it.
Yeah.
I don't care who it is. I don't care what it is. No, thank you.
Mhm.
And as a woman who is grown in grace, it's like I literally can see through people. Like, oh, I see you coming. Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
You're the same spirit in a different body. It was like, oh, I've heard that.
Mm.
Familiar spirit. Like,
Yeah.
I've seen you before. And I was like, that's not
That's
that's
not
not going
it.
to work, right?
Mhm. Mhm. I definitely understand. So, Miss Bridget, before we get ready to go, how can the TC community get your books and read more about all the pits that you went through, your pitfalls to where you are now to your purpose? How can they get the books? How can they connect with you?
Thank you so much. So you guys can go right to my personal website at bridgettelewis.com. And if you want an autographed copy, just go right to says my books, click on it. I'm happy to send you an autographed copy. And if you want it right away, you can get the hardcover. You can get it's on Kindle, it's on Audible. You can go right to Amazon.com. You can go right to BarnesandNoble.com and they'll ship it right to your door. And when you purchase the book, do me a favor, read it, tag her, and invite a friend to get it as well. And then please rate and review it. You know, because when I wrote the book, I realized it was very cathartic. It was
Mhm.
healing for me to get the words out. But it's like I just want women to know that you're not alone and that you can get on the other
Hmm.
side of the hell and the hardships that you've walked through. It's not the end, it's only the beginning. And here's the book from pitfalls to oh, I need to
There
get
it
a
is, right there. Yeah.
here's the book from pitfalls to purpose. Okay, the light is kind of there, so I don't know if you guys can really see it really good.
Oh
Okay,
yeah, I can see that.
awesome. Okay.
Yes, yes. Yeah. And you know what? And it's wonderful that you wrote that book and that you discovered your voice, because then that inspires women like me and other women to discover our voice and to know that, hey, it's like if Miss Bridget can do it, that inspires me to know that I can do it too. So thank you so much, Miss Bridget, for sharing your story, for having the courage to share your story, finding your peace, that self joy, that self love, and just continue to keep shining bright because you look good, Miss Bridget.
Thank you so much for having me. It has been my absolute pleasure. And thank you for sharing your audience with me. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. No problem at all. Okay, TC community. Look, I hope you was listening. I know that this was so blissful and it blessed someone, because one thing Miss Bridget taught us on this evening was learn to forgive. She said, learn to forgive yourselves, learn to love yourselves, and stop doubting yourselves. We definitely
Right?
have to do that inner work, that inner healing work. It's going to be a process. It's going to be a journey, but giving yourself that grace and that permission to go through that process and to know that you're not by yourself. Miss Bridget here.
I
So,
got you.
you, yeah, she got you. She got you. And you know what? Also, you have to give yourself the closure that you need, because, like she said, also, you might not get that. I'm sorry.
No,
But even if you don't get it from the individual, you need to know that you need to give it to yourself.
that's right.
So you forgive yourself. Oh, Miss Dana said that you definitely blessed her.
I'm so happy. Thank you, Dana, for tuning in. We appreciate you so much.
Yes, yes. And we have some of our P2P sisters that joined in.
Hey, Whitney.
Whitney wanted to say hi.
Love her, Miss Graphic Design. Colette.
Yes, Miss
Hey.
Colette wanted to say hello.
Thank you so
My
much.
mom joined in. She said hello, and my
Hey, Mom.
sister, my sister, and Miss Courtney. She was like, "Whoa!" So something you said was like, "Whoa!"
Hey, Courtney. Our P2P
So
sister. Awesome.
definitely, definitely, and so much. But again, thank you so much, Miss Bridget, for sharing. We definitely want to have you back. My mom says thank you. Also, we definitely want to have you back. But again, ladies, just remember again that learn to love yourselves, give yourself that forgiveness, give yourself permission to go through that healing process, and know that you can do it. And so, no matter what you go through, that you always can pray through it. You always got a leaning post, and that is God. And you can lean and you can depend on Him. But I know sometimes we feel like we might need to talk to somebody. Miss Bridget gave you her information. You can connect with her, or you might have a loved one that you can connect with. But definitely get that out. The best thing, and I do mean the best thing for a healing process, is to actually release it and get it out. So you'll be so surprised at what happens when you release it and get it out. So I'll see y'all next week, TC community. We'll be back here on Thursday, same place, same time. And remember, this is a series that we're doing, and we're talking about who is she now. So we talk about the things that we've been through, but then who's the person that we are today. So y'all have a great evening. Y'all be blessed, and remember, show the world who you are, and don't allow the world to tell you who you are. Y'all have a good evening and be blessed.
Bye for now.